$240,000. That's what one piece of plastic can quietly cost you over a lifetime. And the reason is the part most people get completely backwards. It isn't reckless spending. It isn't ignoring the bills. It isn't one bad decision. For most people who end up here, it starts because they did everything right. You get your first credit card at 22. You use it carefully. Pay on time, keep the balance low. You're building a credit history, exactly the way you're supposed to. And then the offers start arriving. New cards, higher limits, rewards, pre-approved because of your responsible behavior, because you earned them, so you accept. Because that's what you do when you've earned something. Here's what nobody explains. The system you think is rewarding you is actually promoting you into a deeper trap. One card becomes 3. A $3,500 limit becomes $40,000 in total credit. And somewhere between the responsible beginning and the sleepless nights, an ordinary person ends up owing a number they never saw coming. Not from one bad decision. From 4 mechanisms most people don't have names for until they're already inside all of them. I want to show you 4 people today. Stay through all 4. The last one is where this ends up if nobody shows you the math in time. Ryan is 22. First job, $38,000 a year. First card, $3,000 limit. He intends to pay it in full every month. Month 1, he does. Month 2, almost. Month 3, minimum payment. He'll clear it next month. He doesn't. By month 8, his balance is $2,400. And then, without him asking, the bank raises his limit to $5,000. Here's what Ryan feels in that moment. Not alarm, relief. The balance looks smaller against the bigger limit. He feels like he's getting ahead of it. That specific relief when the limit rises is exactly what it's designed to produce, because relief keeps you in the system and alarm makes you leave it. By 24, Ryan has $8,200 across 2 cards, $380 in savings, every payment on time, score healthy, no alarms anywhere. Because he's in the minimum payment trap, and it's built to feel like responsibility. Minimum payments feel responsible. You're paying every month on time. Your score stays healthy, no warnings arrive. Here's what's actually happening underneath. Take that $3,500 balance at 28% APR. The monthly interest rate is 2.33%. A standard minimum payment is 2% of the balance. Look at those 2 numbers. Your payment is 2%. Your interest is 2.33%. Your minimum payment does not even cover the interest, which means the balance doesn't slowly shrink. It grows while you pay every month, on time. On a $3,500 balance, the minimum is about $70. The monthly interest is about $82. You pay $70, and you now owe more than you did before you paid. That is not an accident. That is the product. Minimum payments are calibrated to keep you paying as long as mathematically possible, extracting maximum interest the entire time. And most people don't have one card. They have what happens again and again, multiple cards, stacking limits, a system that promoted them into more debt using their own good credit as the bait. But first, Marcus. Because Marcus is doing everything right and going absolutely nowhere. Marcus is 26. Nobody in his family talked about money growing up. Not because they didn't care, but because there was never enough to discuss. First card at 24, at 24% APR. Pays the minimum every month. Never missed, never late. Starting balance, $4,800. 2 years later, after 24 straight on-time payments, his balance is $4,800. He paid $2,304 into that card across 2 years. His balance moved by exactly nothing. Every dollar he paid went to the bank as interest, because at 24%, his minimum payment and his monthly interest were almost identical. He wasn't paying down the debt, he was renting it. Now here's the number to sit with. Last year, the bank paid Marcus $16 in savings interest. Last year, Marcus paid the bank $1,140 in credit card interest. The bank made more from Marcus's one card than Marcus made from his entire life savings. That is the invisible landlord, collecting from Marcus every month, silently, automatically, while he does everything right. And Marcus is where Ryan is heading in 3 years if nobody shows him the calculation. Here's the part that turns a small problem into a large one. The part most people never have a name for. The credit ladder. You get your first card, you use it responsibly, your score improves. And because your score improved, the offers start arriving. Pre-approved, better rewards, higher limits, from lenders who can see your responsible behavior and want a piece of it. So you accept one, because you earned it. Because a second card spreads the balance. The logic holds, then a third arrives, and the logic still holds. And now you have $40,000 in total credit across 3 cards. Here's what changed. The comfort ceiling didn't stay at $3,500. It multiplied. The minimum payment trap didn't stay at one statement. It multiplied. The invisible landlord didn't have one account to collect from. It had 3. And then a late fee, an annual fee, one payment a day late, $39 penalty, rate jumps to 29.99%. This is not a story about being irresponsible. It's a story about a system that rewards responsibility with more access and more access with more exposure, until the ladder you climbed to build your credit is the same ladder that carried you into the hole. And once you're on it, the interest doesn't just cost you money now, it quietly costs you the things that money was supposed to buy later. Sarah spent 4 years learning that. Sarah is 34. She earns $95,000. For 4 years, she's been almost ready to buy her first home. Every year she runs the numbers. Every year the down payment fund is slightly short. Every year something from the credit cards absorbs what should have gone into it. She doesn't think she has a debt problem. She manages, pays more than the minimum, sometimes clears the balances. Average balance across 3 cards, $7,200. Average APR, 22%. Annual interest, about $1,584. In 4 years, Sarah has paid $6,336 to the invisible landlord. That's most of a down payment, not spent on living, not on experiences. Paid in interest on balances she considers manageable, while the home she almost bought now costs $60,000 more. 3 days before she finally felt ready to make an offer on the listing she'd saved for 8 months. It sold. She thinks the home is the problem. It isn't. The credit ladder underneath it is. I want to stop here because there's a cost to credit card debt that never appears on any statement. When the balances stop going down no matter what you do, when the interest lands on 3 different statements like a punishment for existing, something happens to your sleep. You lie awake running the same calculation you ran 2 hours earlier. 3 in the morning. Same numbers. Same answer. And if you fall behind even once, the calls start. A number you don't recognize. And before you answer, your stomach drops. Because you already know. That's the part people carry in silence. The shame of the gap between how a life looks from the outside and what the statements say. And it shows up for the people who built good credit, because they did everything right, and still ended up here. This isn't weakness, it's what the credit ladder does to people when nobody explains what's at the top of it. The financial cost is real. I'll show you the full number in a moment. But that quiet weight is the price most people pay without saying a word. James has been paying it longer than anyone should have to. James is 52. He coached Little League for 12 years. He never once missed a mortgage payment. 6 credit cards, combined balance, $34,000. He didn't get there through bad decisions. He got there one responsible card at a time, one accepted offer at a time, until the minimum payments across 6 cards totaled $680 a month, more than his car payment and his utilities combined. Retirement account, $41,000. After 28 working years, it should be closer to $400,000. Every dollar that went to interest across those years was a dollar that never compounded in a retirement account. The invisible landlord didn't collect from James once. It collected across 6 accounts for 3 decades, while he coached and paid his mortgage and did everything a responsible person does. Now the phone lights up twice a day with numbers he doesn't recognize. He's been letting them go to voicemail for 3 weeks. James is where Ryan, Marcus, and Sarah are all heading, if the direction doesn't change. Let me show you what this actually costs, built in front of you so every dollar makes sense. Card 1, $3,500 at 28% APR. As we saw, the minimum doesn't cover the interest. That's where it started. Card 2, accepted 18 months later because the score improved. $8,000 at 24%. Carried for years. Card 3, pre-approved, $12,000 at 22%. The rewards looked excellent. Interest paid across 3 cards over the life of the debt, about $28,000. Late fees and penalty rate months, about $1,400. Annual fees across 8 years, about $960. The extended timeline penalty, the extra years of interest when balances barely move, about $11,000. Direct cost, approximately $40,000. Now the number nobody calculates. From 22 to 30, the average combined minimum payment was about $150 a month. That's not a large number. But here's what $150 a month becomes in an index fund instead of a bank, at the market's historical 7%. At 30, $19,000. Then the contributions stop. It just compounds, untouched. At 40, $38,000. At 50, $74,000. At 65, over $200,000. So let me be precise, because this channel is built on numbers that hold up. The money that left your pocket directly, interest, fees, penalties, is about $40,000. That part is real and already spent. The rest is what that money could have become. The $150 a month you sent to the bank, invested instead at the market's long-run average and left alone until 65, would have grown to over $200,000. Add the two together, what you paid, plus what you never got to build. Approximately $240,000. Nearly $250,000. From $150 a month in minimum payments that felt responsible, arrived on time, and never once triggered an alarm. Not from reckless spending, from a credit ladder that used good behavior to build a trap, and a minimum payment system designed to keep you inside it. So what does the way out look like? In the right order, connected to the people who needed each one. Move 1. Stop the credit ladder from adding another rung. Ryan needed this first. Freeze your limits, decline automatic increases. Stop accepting new offers. Every new card is another comfort ceiling, another landlord, another minimum. Move 2. Do the real calculation with all your cards. Marcus needed this. Every balance, every APR, every minimum. Total interest across all accounts per year. Let the full number be real. Move 3. The avalanche. Sarah needed this. Minimums on every card, every extra dollar to the highest interest card first. When it clears, redirect everything to the next. The landlord loses one account at a time. Move 4, a balance transfer. James needed this. A 0% APR transfer for 12 to 18 months stops interest during the payoff window. The fee is almost always less than the interest saved. Use that window aggressively. Move 5. Redirect every cleared payment immediately. All 4 needed this. The moment a card clears, take what you were paying and move it straight to investments. It was already leaving your account. Keep it leaving. Now it builds instead of drains. And one more that isn't financial but matters as much. Say the full number out loud to another person. A nonprofit credit counselor, a trusted friend. The shame is part of how the trap stays standing. It loses power the moment you say it. I want to tell you what the other side feels like, because this video has spent a lot of time on the mechanics of the trap, and I don't want to leave you there. The people who clear the last card almost never describe it as triumphant. They describe it as quiet, like a noise they'd stopped hearing because it had been there so long, finally going silent. The 3 a.m. calculations stop. The stomach drop before unknown numbers stops. And the headspace that debt quietly occupied for years just opens back up, like a room that gets more light when you finally move what was blocking the window. That's the other side. Not wealthy overnight, just quiet and free, and able to think about the future without the calculation running under every thought. Nearly $250,000. That's what the credit ladder costs. Not in a worst case, in a completely ordinary life. It's a home down payment, a child's college fund, the retirement account that should exist at 65. Not from one bad decision, from minimum payments that felt responsible, on cards accepted because good credit was earned, across a decade that looked completely fine from the outside. The card in your wallet is either the first rung of a $240,000 ladder or the first thing you look at differently tomorrow morning. The difference is whether you do the calculation before the years do it for you. If any of this sounded familiar, subscribe. Every week I do the calculation most people don't know to do on the financial decisions that quietly shape a life. And this week, pull up every card, write down every balance and APR, and total the interest you're paying a year. Just see the real number. That's where it starts. I'll see you in the next one.